Good evening. Good evening, and welcome to the Romulus Community Schools Board of Education meeting. Today is Monday, April the 11th. Our meeting time is 6:11. Madam President, roll call. Madam Secretary, I'm sorry.
German, Kennard,
Here.
Wester, Terrell,
Present.
Piles, Evans present, Bergeron, Hibby
Excuse.
excused absence.
At this time, then we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States. On the agenda next is public comment. Madam Secretary.
Carl D. Abreu,
Good evening
Good evening.
to the distinguished superintendent and school board, my peers in the audience, welcome. I just wanted to offer this comment. I have been in education for about 25 years with both gen ed and special needs. What I saw with the Meta Labs is that it is a program that can benefit all populations. What it does is it promotes entrepreneurism, it promotes life skills, and so many other things that a lot of our students may not necessarily get. The one thing that I want to compare it to is when I'm in the special needs environment, I hear this term LD. And a lot of kids joke with it and all of that kind of stuff. There's a certain perception. Well, my perception is today, all of our students are LD because they learn differently. And this would be a great opportunity for them to learn something different and move themselves further in life. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Madam Secretary?
Rita Hampton,
My comment is still the same, and I will be still asking these questions, and I continue to ask the questions. You cannot fix a school district with programs. People fix school districts, no matter how much money. I'm beginning to become very suspicious. Why is this being pushed down our throat? Last thing to puzzle me, and I won't spend my 3 minutes, why in June or July was Dr. Edmondson given a pay raise, an extension of his contract, and an average evaluation, and then in the next couple of months he's terminated? I continue to ask those questions. I have read the financial reports. I have read the audit reports. There is nothing in the reports that implicate a wrongdoing of Dr. Ben Edmondson. Now my next question, maybe you can ask that at the end of the meeting. Why was he terminated? Based on what? Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda, we have two presentations. The first one is the State of Romulus Early Childhood Center.
Good evening, Dr. Weatherspoon and distinguished members of the Romulus School Board. My name is Tracy Richardson, and I have been in school administration prior to coming to Romulus just over 35 years. I got on the substitute list through Wayne County RESA for districts that needed substitute help for administrators, and I was called the very next day about an opening at the Romulus Early Childhood Center. That was quite different than what I had done for many years, working in the high school, middle school environments. Although it took me back to my roots when I was with the Flat Rock School District. One of the programs I was running in Flat Rock was the preschool program. So it was like coming home. And what an uplifting experience it has been for me to see the wonderful smiling faces of these awesome children that we have coming in and awesome families. They're smiling when they come in, and oftentimes they do not want to leave the building at the end of the day. That's a huge testament, I believe, to the staff that we have in our building. It takes so much effort to be around the little ones. They have so much energy, and to be a strong, viable staff, and it relies on every staff member bringing it every day. And they do. I've seen that. And when we haven't had that happen, we've had very meaningful conversations, and it's been to like it's somewhat energized the situation. Again, I believe that speaks volumes of the staff for the effort that they bring every day. The picture that you have up on the screen is one of our main advertisements. We love the colors in it, and it goes on many of our cover pages and our advertisements that go out for the Romulus Early Childhood Program. Next slide, please. Tonight we're going to talk a little bit about our programs, our improvements to our building, and the events that have happened or upcoming events that are happening. Next slide, please. So our main program at RECC involves GSRP, the Great Start Readiness Program. That's really the core of our program. We have 5 full classrooms servicing GSRP right now. It's a state-funded program that nearly all expenses that go into the Great Start Readiness Program come out of the state budget that we are allocated. With our help of our awesome resource that we have, Dr. Helen Brooks with Wayne County RESA, seems almost daily that she's in our building, and she oversees many GSRP programs throughout Wayne County, and she has been a tremendous help to me and tremendous support to the program, along with our fine administrative staff. We also have a program called Smart Start, which is a fee-based preschool program. We offer extended care, which opens at 7 in the morning, goes till 8:30 in the morning. Then those children are taken to their rooms to start their preschool day, and then it reopens at 3:30 p.m. each day and runs until 6 o'clock for those families that need it. Again, that's a fee-based program, extended care. And then we'll talk a little bit about summer camp. So if you've been in our building, you know that we try to use a lot of colors in the building. We have a large activity center, indoor gross motor room. We have a wonderful gym, bikes, basketball, all kinds of different motor activities for the children to do in the gymnasium, and that's used daily. We have 2 playgrounds and an indoor courtyard that we're going to be talking about shortly, reverting that into an outdoor classroom. In our GSRP program, we've got 86 students who are currently enrolled. Smart Start, the fee-based program, has 16 children with 2 staff members. Extended care, 20 right now that are using that. And our summer camp that's coming up, we're shooting for anywhere between 24 and 30 students to make that viable program throughout the summer. Next slide, please. Couple pictures, and you can see the different colors that we use. So that's a picture of the outdoor play area, one of the pictures of the outdoor play area, what a typical classroom looks like, although none of the classrooms are typical. They all have basically the same equipment that's in there, but it's up to the lead teacher to design the room the way they can best fulfill the needs of the curriculum. And of course, there's a picture of the gymnasium. Just so you know, when I say GSRP, the program calls for having a lead teacher, an associate teacher, and an aide. is in each of the GSRP classrooms. Next slide, please. So here's a picture of kids that are in our Smart Start program. And what makes it different from GSRP is Smart Start can start children at 2.5 years of age and go all the way to 5 years of age. Very specific guidelines with Great Start Readiness Program. Children have to be 4 prior to December 1st of the school year. At least by September 1st, and then at least, it starts, the window is September 1st to December 1st for children turning 4 years old. Very specific criteria. Our records are thoroughly gone through, and we got a 100% rating on our records review. Again, Great Start also uses our core curriculum that we use. They model what we use in GSRP. Next slide, please. So we've got different pictures of our GSRP program where you can see the kids are doing, just to see this, kids are doing a number of different activities on the stage in the gymnasium, their craft activities, other types of learning experiences, and you'll see in all these pictures the kids have smiles on their face. Again, that's a testament to the staff and to our families for helping to send children to us that are really engaged in school. Next slide, please. So you can take a look at what our daily schedule is, and a couple notes that I put with it. It really exhibits rigor, order, and covers all the necessary areas of the curriculum. But when you look at for even 4-year-old children, it looks like such a busy schedule, and they adapt to it like right away. They adapt. They love to stay busy. They love to have tasks as far as cleaning up. They love to know when nap time is, although not a lot like to take naps still at this age. But they love nap time. So do the teachers, by the way. The teachers really enjoy that nap time, that little short break. Changes are made to this schedule based upon if we have field trips, special guests that come to our school. We'll modify it when the school board comes to our school. Any of you come to the school, we'll modify that schedule. I guarantee you that. So we do have field trips. We have special guests that come to the school. That all kind of changed a little bit with COVID, and so we really had a philosophy, not restricting people, but controlling the people that are coming into the building. So I could see like the next school year, and I'll be encouraging the next director of the program to really restart, because there's so many great people, the library folks within town, police, fire, rescue. There's so many folks that we need to share our building with. We also have, I didn't include on the schedule, but you'll see there's breakfast, there's lunch, and there's snack time. So conveniently, we have 2 food service staff that work in our building. They're wonderful, and they are timely with the students' meals. Most of the meals are prepped at the high school, and they're warmed at our building. And the ladies do a great job of staying on schedule, because kids like to eat at this age, don't they? I don't blame them. I don't blame them. Next slide, please. I think we've just got some improvements we've been talking about to our building. Take a look at this. Go ahead. So you can see this wonderful playground. Look at the colors, all the different things. Today was a day that all of the classes used it. It was just completed in this past November. Actually was still being worked on when I arrived at Romulus Early Childhood Center, and we were able to get it all certified, and the kids just absolutely love that play area. Next slide, please. Added a new playhouse. They thought that was the greatest thing in the world. It's jam-packed every day. The next slide, please. So I said, again, we had visits from the Romulus Fire Department. They were been here. A real popular program is the Madcap Puppets. Don't try to say that 3 times fast. The Madcap Puppets. And different programs like that, the kids, it breaks up the day, and they get a chance to experience different presentations, different programs. And honestly, from what I've seen, the people that come out to do it they're really good at it. You know, they know this age level, and again, the teachers are really engaged in that. Next slide, please. So one of the interesting areas that we have over there is it's an outdoor courtyard that it needs some work on it. It's going to be a summer project, but it could be a great learning area for our students. We actually have already purchased the equipment that's going to go in there, but it's going to be, talking to Mr. Garland, it's going to be a summer project to really shore that up and have that ready for the fall. It needs some work, so I'm not going to make any promises that it's going to be ready for this spring. But what a great reading area for the children. There's a water fountain out there, and enjoy sunny days like today, at least for a while. Next slide, please. Hey, who's that old guy sitting by the window? Just like all schools, improving your security is an ongoing concern. And that's no different at RECC. So one of the things that, and we'll talk about in a second about our safety grant, that is, you know, having surveillance cameras and stuff. We have an older system at RECC that really needs upgrading. And so in lieu of not having that, where the office was at for the supervisor, I moved into a vacant classroom, and so took a picture of me just looking out the window. I don't sit there and look out the window all day long, but it gives me direct view of everybody entering through the main entrance of the building. It offers other benefits for students that may need a timeout. It's a full classroom. It gives me a break too, so I can play with the kids further a little bit. But we're always looking at improving our security. As you're well aware, the district has applied for a sizable grant to make security improvements throughout the district. So we're keeping our fingers crossed for that. And through that grant process, RECC is included in the process for security improvements. It's an ongoing thing. It was some ideas that Dr. Weatherspoon brought when he came here about as far as different suggestions, requirements for signing in. We changed that immediately, so thank you, Dr. Weatherspoon, for bringing your ideas. Next slide, please. We're getting to the end, guys, I promise. Just wanted to give you some more pictures of kids engaged in the many activities. It's a busy day there, and a lot of colors, a lot of engagement, a lot of tools. It's all research-based through the curriculum program that we use. Our main communication tool that we use is a program called Brightwheel with parents. And we use Brightwheel to, if there's any change in classroom events, any updates, schedule changes, payment information, etc., all goes into Brightwheel. And pretty much have 100% participation from parents. So it's really important that we keep, from our end, keep the information updated and current, because parents are checking that, and that's their information tool. Because some parents, if they drop off at 7 in the morning at the extended care, they may miss any engagement with the teachers whatsoever, and their student comes to extended care afterward. So, and the program is really user-friendly. So far, we like it. Finally, I just wanted to, again, invite any school board members. We're in regular contact with the administrators through the district and participating in that, but invite school board members, come on by and see all the great things that are going on there. I could have made this presentation quite a bit longer, but I tried to, in the spirit of many other things going on in the school board meeting. But it is really a fantastic building, and it's been uplifting for me, and I guess I kind of consider myself the papa of the building, you know, having grandkids myself. So it's, with that, is there any questions that I can?
Yeah. Is there any board questions? Okay.
It's a wonderful presentation, thank you. I'd like to ask, you mentioned that the extended care is fee-based. Is there anything in place that will allow parents that may not be, even though they're working parents, that may not be able to afford the fee that's charged?
It's a great question. And even like our Smart Start program, where parents don't meet the income qualifications for Great Start Readiness, parents can apply through DHS for reimbursement. And we do have parents that utilize that, and it's a great tool. And we assist with that as well. There's an application that'll fill out, and so both Sandy and Robin, I'm not trying to throw too many names out here because I don't want to forget about other people, but our administrative staff in the building are wonderful and provide whatever assistance with DHS for reimbursement or through the registration process, because it's a lot of paperwork to register. And so we have a separate room in there for registration in the building. That's a great question.
Thank you, Mr. Inwards. Trustee Powles.
Thank you for that. My questions are, what is our approximate adult to child ratio? I know you mentioned we have a teacher, an assistant, and an aide. What is the ratio?
Great question. I missed it on one of the segments that we actually achieved status of being a 4-star program out of 5. We achieved 4-star status recently with the program, and that means that our ratio continues to be 1 adult in the classroom with 6 children.
Okay. And of the 86 currently enrolled in GSRP, there aren't residency requirements. So of that 86, do you know how many reside within the Romulus Community Schools District or city?
We did a printout recently, and because we've been working on kindergarten roundup right now, and so we distributed that to the principals so they have it. Ironically, about half of our students reside in Romulus, and about half of our students, approximate, reside outside of Romulus.
And how do we recruit, or how will we be getting this information into Romulus homes that this program exists? Some are aware, some are not. Is there anything planned for marketing it?
I recently visited with Mr. Thompson. We went to the post office and we got rates and information needed to do like a mass marketing campaign for our program. We obviously have information on the web, word of mouth, and continuously looking for every creative way we can get words out, maybe 2. But that all really needs to be happening right now as parents start to consider what's going, where they're going to be in the fall. And so we have little staff meetings once a week, and we talk about different marketing ideas. And the most recent one was to get to the post office, get the rates, find out what we're looking at right now so we can present that to the district, or maybe even use our money within GSRP to market our program.
Right. And my last question is, I know on our website, it talks about this program and that the child's birthday must fall between September 1st and December 1st. But the state actually allows children to enroll if they're 4 by September 1st, and then there's an extra provision for those who turn 4 after that.
It's a matter of wording, but they're both accepted. But they have to, at least the main date that we're looking at, they have to be 4 by that December 1st date.
Right. So, right, but is that something we can update, Dr. Weatherspoon, so that we don't mislead families? Because it says your child's birthday must fall between September 1st and December 1st, but it's actually, they have to be 4 by September 1st and a special provision by December 1st.
And I'll send to Dr. Weatherspoon tomorrow the exact wording of what it comes right from the GSRP handbook.
Yeah, well, thank you for that.
Yeah, and I would like to add to that. We do have Brad who's here, and I had a brief conversation with him this morning. He's sitting right there where some of these questions that you are asking, Trustee Powles, he will be presenting at some point in the near future if, so we just want people to know that we are working on that and with the district, and he will be coming to us with all this, with additional information to address that. And I would like to say thank you very much. it's been a while since I've been to the building. I think when I went there prior to COVID, they were doing a lot of renovations and, things were, getting brighter there. So I look forward to coming to the building and observing and seeing the good work that has been done in the classroom. And thank you and welcome to the district, by the way.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, one final thing is I walk around there and I see the kids in such a good mood and smiling, and they all want to hug, and they call names, just funny names to each other. I'm like, why do we lose that when we get older? I mean,
Yeah.
what happens to us all when we get older? We lose that.
Is there any other questions for Mr. Richardson from the board? If not, thank you very much. Next, we will have State of Romulus Virtual Learning Center, RVLC, Mr. Christopher Parker, Director of Online Learning.
Good evening, Dr. Weatherspoon, distinguished members of our Board of Education. Good evening, good to see you all. So, a little less than 1 year ago, I was tasked with creating, from the ground up, an online learning program for Romulus Community Schools. Through hard work, diligence, collaboration with a lot of people, calling on individuals that I had known for like 2 decades working in this district, we were able to put together a program that I'm very proud of. It has its strengths, it has its areas for improvement, and that's what we'll talk to you guys about today. Next slide. Okay, first of all, with our staff demographics. So what we did was, when I came to you guys back in the summer and presented and told you what we were going to do, we wanted to sort of mirror, because of COVID, we had a lot of families that were afraid to send their students into the schools. They were just not going to send their children to school. So we were able to provide for them a program that was synchronous, meaning that there is a live teacher on the other end of the computer and the children are at home and they are live. So our program, K-8, is synchronous. So right now, currently, we have a teacher in front of every grade for students. So we have a kindergarten teacher, first grade, all the way through 8th grade. So they see a teacher every day. We also have a special services person who works with our students with IEPs. So we use a sort of a pull-out model in working with our director of special services and now our interim director of special services. We were able to look at their IEPs and we were able to provide, we provide accommodations for the students that we have with IEPs. So there are, well, I've got a slide coming up, but we do have a significant number of students that have IEPs and we work with them as well. Next slide. Continuing, so now at the secondary level, that is where, as you all know as educators, we compartmentalize into departments. So we've got kindergarten through 5th grade, they have a synchronous teacher, K-5. But then when we get 6 through 8, we have all of the departments. So we have a certified math, ELA, and science teachers. And then right now we have long-term subs working in our social studies with our social studies students. So we were able to go out, we were able to find individuals to synchronously work with all of our students K through 8. Next slide. Attendance, our year 1 attendance. This is where we have a lot of room for improvement, okay? With attendance, what we have is, in the online world, I've learned that we have, for young people, we have the parent needs to be what's called a learning coach, okay? That parent needs to be a learning coach. What that means is I've got some students who have never missed a day, who are in online learning. Every day I go on, I visit the classes. Hey, Mr. Parker, I've got my young man. I won't call him out right now, but he calls me Peter Parker. If he's watching Spire, there are kids that are there each and every single day. However, other end of the spectrum, we suffer from some chronic absenteeism with some students. Parents, I always say there, but for the grace of God go I, so I'm not going, trying to blame anybody, but parents says, get up, get online, and then they have to go off and go about their day. And some of the students who are, a little bit more, self-directed can go on, can do their thing, but then we have other students who it just didn't work out for. So when I talk to you about next steps, we are thinking about how to improve that for the next time, for next year. So I'll talk about that, but definitely attendance has been an issue. Currently, there are 188 students that are enrolled in the program. We have to shut it down because I was only able to come up with one teacher for every grade. Every time I do a survey, I've got lots and lots of people, lots and lots of parents. How can I get my child enrolled? How can I get my child enrolled? But I have to stop it. I was not able to service all of the people who were interested in this program. So we just shut it down a couple of times. I've got parents right now who are kind of like on waiting lists. I'm not saying that it's a 150-person waiting list, but I've got people that are like, hey, Mr. Parker, I'm reaching out to you again, just reminding that I want my child in the program next year. Because as you'll see in a moment, there are some people who want online learning, and it is beneficial for several types of people. With the transients, when we first started it off, we came up with some rules. Remember, you guys, we said that we would not allow students to transition in and out. We said that you had to come in, you had to stay in for the entire year. Life happened. We ended up doing sort of a transition at the half-year point. But so with the transition pieces, so some students, it just wasn't for. So we had to get them out of the program and get them back face-to-face because they were just missing too much instruction, missing too much school. Then we also had, from the other end, in working with the principals, I worked very well with all the principals of the elementary schools. We just had things that happened, students, medical conditions may have happened, or something happens with a person's job or something like that, and they needed an online option. So we were able to help out a lot of families to keep them in Romulus because they wanted to continue to work, with us in Romulus, and we were able to provide this option for them. So as we went through the year, we started learning that we had to be flexible. We had to, in order to service our population. Next slide. Okay, so some points of pride for our program, what we're very proud of. This is what we were able to put together. So we are definitely meeting the needs for alternative education for a lot of the families, which is what I just talked about. There are in our program just different people with different needs. Where face-to-face instruction, for some reason, it just wasn't working for them. COVID was a big draw to the program. So a lot of people came into the program for COVID. So we were able to meet that need to keep those individuals, having those students go to school. There are students in the program who are just shining. We have students that have IEPs, for example, that are like the superstars in the program, going through, doing everything that they need to do. They're there every day. And I guarantee these students have learned a ton of information because they're taking advantage of what we had to offer. Also, we have students, so we extend the opportunity to learn. So the opportunity to learn time on task. Dr. Edmondson was real big on the 7 correlates. And one of them that we really took to Mr. Henry and I was this whole idea of opportunity to learn time on task. The more time you have to sit down and concentrate and study and learn, the better the outcomes. So we were able to, in our program, we have, and I'm going to skip down to the RTI system. Shout out to our ELA teacher. I'm not really saying any of the teachers' names on here. I'm just saying teachers. But we came up with a wonderful RTI program. So we've got Tier 1 instruction that's going on, math and ELA. So synchronous Tier 1 instruction. Because of the flexibility of our schedule, we're not in a bell schedule in the building going class to class. We have some flex time there. So we are able to do a true RTI program. So utilizing IXL, utilizing Tier 1 instruction, we can pinpoint students who who need extra support and extra skills. And we actually have an hour where students come back and they actually work on their skills. So they get targeted instruction, targeted lessons. We work through IXL. So I'm very proud of the fact that we have that RTI program. So I say again, a student that comes to the program, that logs onto the program every day and takes advantage of what it has to offer, can't help but benefit. The wild card, however, is, that learning coach. We're not at home able, we can't say, hey, get off the video game and, and go log on to the computer. So we were very proud of that. We are accelerating the potential, I'm sorry, I can't see that far, for individual student, accelerating the potential for individual student progress. So that's, again, like I talk about some of those individuals that we have in our program who are just shining. They're just doing well. We were able to capture and recapture students from different programs. Okay, we do have students that, you guys, hey, Mr. Parker, you guys are offering online learning. We want to come over, and bring our kids into your program. So we're able to get some kids back into our district. What those specific numbers are, I don't have in front of me, but we've got kids that would come back to our program for online learning. And then we were also able to get students that have never, been with us. I talked to a young lady today, for example, from Georgia. I'm coming up and I want to put my kids in online learning. So it's definitely, when we talk about enrollment, it is definitely a program done right, and we are on the right path. We can use it to capture students. Also, we are improving the teaching and learning conditions for some students. This is where that alternative education works for some individuals. When COVID hit, we had, I can just tell you, students that I would see that struggled in the face-to-face environment. Anxiety, sort of explosiveness here and there. They socially struggled. COVID happened. They went online, and these individuals became stellar students, became stars in the online environment. So we are able to definitely improve those conditions for those individuals. We have some strong, productive learning communities in our program. I don't know quite how it works for school board members to visit online like you guys can visit the schools, but when I go on and visit some of the classes, some of the conversations that are going on in those classes, the way that some of our learning coaches in our younger grades are working with their students and working with our teachers. We have one family, I'm not going to say names, but one family, this mom is on there with her daughter every day. So mom goes to school right along with the daughter. And it's just, so there are some strong learning communities that have been developed. The 8th grade community that is now transitioning to 9th grade, they're rock stars. Some of the things that they're discussing in that class, some of the concepts that they're discussing, the literature that they're discussing, the writing that they're producing, it is really something to see. So I'm very proud of the learning communities that we have online. Also, increasing our student and staff's access to technology. So, technology, moving forward, waves of the future. So the apps that students are using, in addition to the IXL, we have, so right now we still, use Edgenuity. That's one of the programs that we're using. And the younger people use lots of different things. There's something called Zern. There's different math programs. There's a lot of different technology that students are using. Through Clever, they go in and they use a lot of different things. I know the ELA program uses a program called Freckle. They use a grammar program, so there's just a lot of technology that students are exposed to through our program. And then finally, the engagement. We are definitely improving student engagement for those individuals who choose to learn online. There are one of our science teacher, for example, he does this rocketry, which is just just excellent, and students really enjoy building rockets and that whole thing. So definitely increasing engagement. So several points of pride with our program. Next slide. So next steps. So we talked about, I'm very proud of what we were able to produce, but there is definitely room for improvement. And for us to have a Gold Star program, we're sitting at a very opportune place to do some things in order to strengthen the program, to enhance it for our students, and to make sure that we have a solid program for anyone that wants to come. So one thing is content acquisition. So what the students are learning. So I am working with central office with curriculum, working with what we're going to be using for curriculum. So that is, so we're exploring curriculum options right now. The next thing that you'll notice there is establishing a partnership. So I am sort of in a holding pattern right now, wanting to present to you guys, get any questions that I have from you, collaborate with central office, and we are looking to partner. I've been in several conversations with vendors, and what I'd like to do, the vision is to create a robust asynchronous option, because there are some families, so we talk about those learning coaches, we do a synchronous program every day, just like a regular school. There are families, however, the asynchronous option is something that some people might want. So that's something that we could explore, but we would need to partner with a virtual company in order to explore that option. So the vision is being cast, and I'm just working with and collaborating with central office in order to make it come to fruition. Next. Again, next steps. So we want to definitely 2 surveys. I'd like to survey the current families that are in it and kind of find out, what's going well, what we can work on, and then another interest survey to the community, because I'd like to open that back up again and provide that opportunity for people that want this program. As I said before, every time we opened up the survey 2 times, and there was so much interest that we had to shut it down because of staffing. We didn't have enough people to staff it. Facilities right now, currently, so the teachers are working inside of the buildings. We require the teachers to come in and work inside of the building. So like, what would the facilities look like? Are we going to still be housed? I kind of had to beg, borrow, and work with my good friend, Mr. Henry, to let us into the middle school. So that's where we operate out of the middle school, but facilities would definitely be something that we would be needing to look at. Is it going to be the same way? So that's something for operations for next steps. Counseling and academic support. So for counseling, we did not provide counseling for our students. So we don't have counselors on staff and things like that. There's not a strong, we do have academic advisory, okay? So, and with the RTI piece, but we didn't have a strong emotional piece for our program. So that is also something that we would be looking to in order to, once again, to strengthen, to enhance the program. Academic support, I am still a big proponent. What I would love to see is learning centers. I would love to see a blended model where students, have that online option, synchronous or asynchronous, and then have labs where they can come into our facilities and they can work with certified teachers face to face should they choose to do so. Because we're not necessarily, not that COVID has gone away by any means, but people are more apt now to send students into the building. So we could actually have students coming in and do more of a blended model for the program, which would just strengthen it. So that's the learning centers. And then finally, strengthening. One thing that we definitely need to do, teachers that I was working with, I didn't want to put people out of the program, right? I didn't want to put anyone out of the program. So like students that weren't coming, okay? So I didn't put together, like, if you miss school 15 times, you get kicked out of the program. Because of COVID, because of the situation that we were in, I just was working with parents, calling, hey, where are you? But for this to actually work and for students to benefit from it, there will definitely, not post-COVID, but, with COVID kind of, mitigated a little bit, there would definitely need to be some parameters, so as far as, the attendance requirement pieces, if we're looking into an asynchronous option where they have the two-way communication versus attendance every day. So there are other options out there. We did, what was expedient for us, what we could do just to get the program off the ground. But looking forward, there's definitely more options to, to meet our parents' needs. Next. And with that, I'll take any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. Are there any questions from any of the board members? Yes. Trustee Powell.
Thank you for all of that, Mr. Parker.
You're welcome.
Those that wanted online learning but were on the waiting list, do we know if they then chose RCS for in-person, or did they seek out other virtual options? Do we know that?
I do not know that. I do not know that. When I still have the results from the survey, with the phone numbers and things like that from people, so I can look into that, but I don't know exactly what people did. No, ma'am.
Okay, and do those who are attending virtually have access to extra opportunities? Like, can those students participate in sports, band, or any enrichment programs offered in our buildings?
Very good question. Today, for example, a couple of the students that I was telling you about, the rock stars, they're playing softball right now. So yeah, absolutely. A couple more of our students playing baseball. So that's always been an option for students. With regard to band, I have definitely, like, one of my teachers is a certified music teacher. So we are exploring options for something like that. What that would look like, just off the top of my head, I don't know. But whatever we can provide for students, because they're choosing virtual for specific reasons, not because they have been put out of school or anything like that. So yes, absolutely. However we can enrich their lives, I'm all for it. It's just a matter of like what that scheduling, would look like.
Is it something maybe they could come into our buildings to participate with their cohorts?
Anything is possible.
And then my last question is, has there been monitoring done to see, are the curriculums aligned and moving at the same curriculum at the same pace, whether a student attends virtually or in person, so that if and when there's a time these students are all together in person, have we looked at if there's any gaps being created?
That's a very good question. So we haven't done any formal monitoring like that, okay? The curriculum that we're using I'm just gonna talk ELA, for example, and math and ELA. The curriculum that they're using is the same curriculum that they were using in the middle school. The ELA curriculum is moving along swimmingly. Math as well. The ELA curriculum is actually an online curriculum. So the Amplify, remember when I came to you guys in the beginning and we wanted to do Amplify, so that is moving along, and due to like professional development and that kind of thing, we were actually able in the online program, I love my middle school people, but I have to say the online ELA moved along a little bit faster than the middle school did, just because, again, we were virtual, we were able to kind of get it right away. With regard to math, that is also in lockstep, so the PLCs that are functioning at the middle school, our math teachers go to those PLCs, so they are also in lockstep with the middle school. So math and ELA, yes. Science, social studies, that's where, so for science, I had a long-term sub. So for science and social studies, we had long-term subs from the beginning. I was not able to secure a science or a social studies teacher, so we had to use Edgenuity, okay? So so we of course, in working with the science department head, hey, what are the standards that you guys are working on? But again, the delivery, the curriculum different. So I can't say that that's moved in lockstep like math and science have.
And will those students in middle school be coming in for the M-STEP testing?
Yes, ma'am, we're working on that right now.
Okay, and my last question, and I don't need it now, but just if we could get an update, just email's fine, of the breakdown by grade of how many students are attending virtually? K
By
through eight?
grade, K-8?
Yeah,
Yes.
you're not over 9 through 12, is that correct?
I'm not over 9/12.
Okay, so K-8, thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any other board? Yes, trustee Evans.
Can you tell me the connection of the elementary students with their class, with their buildings? Are they in line with activities taking place in their buildings? They know the principals, that kind of thing?
Good question. That didn't happen year one, okay? So with the way that it went down was the elementary students' parents didn't want them in buildings. They wanted them virtual because, because of COVID. It was always communicated to them, however, anyone that asked, I've got just one family that was really interested in that. Mr. Parker, the spooktacular or whatever, the things that they do at the elementaries. And I would always tell them, absolutely, the principals are, will welcome you guys in. Working with my principal colleagues, we were always encouraging that, but I just did not get a lot of takers because of COVID. I'm just assuming because of COVID, I didn't have a lot of parents wanting their children to go into the buildings, into the elementary buildings. So it's a possibility. It's something that's encouraged, but I just didn't experience it.
Do the principals have the ability to log into those classrooms?
Did they have the ability this time? No. Can they have the ability? Yes. It's just a matter of inviting them to the Google Classrooms. So if that's something that you would like to see, that can happen, lickety-split. It's real easy to do. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. The trustee Wester.
Nice presentation, Mr. Parker.
Thank you, ma'am.
As it relates to the administrators being a part of it, I think that would be a good idea,
Mm-hmm.
because then the parents as well as the students will be able to see who their principal is, because he or she can log into that classroom and say, "Good morning, I'm Mrs. Wester, your principal. Love to have you at our school," and also making sure that they're getting all the information that's sent out, any notes or anything that are going home. If we can make sure they get those things electronically, to make sure that they are a part of, to come in for picture day and things of that nature, to make them feel a part of the school.
Mm-hmm. That's very good. Let me clarify for you, Trustee Wester. I'm sorry, Vice President Wester. They're not a part of the schools anymore, though, right? So when they chose to, remember when you guys voted to start this, they're part of RVLC, right? So when they get pulled out of Barth, they get pulled out of Hale Creek, and they become a part of RVLC. So we could definitely, looking for next year, we could definitely keep that relationship going, because they are Romulus Community School students, and I think that would definitely enhance it. But we just didn't do anything like that this year because, people would, call and ask about a student, and the principal or the secretary would be, "Well, no, they're not in our school anymore. Contact Mr. Parker."
Yeah.
So, yeah, but that's a great idea, though.
Just for future, to make sure
Absolutely.
that they are a part, if it's their home school or a different one, just so, they can feel a part and be able to go in.
Yeah, that would strengthen the program. I definitely agree.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you, Vice President. Is there anyone else? Well, I would like to thank you for that information. Very informative. I know when we started the journey, I remember lots of questions and, the what ifs and the what happens, the whatever. But one of the things that I am concerned about is the credit hour in terms of what, particularly at the high school level with online learning with your traditional courses. And so my question is, the online courses that's taken, are they in line with the traditional credit hours to ensure that our students, upon graduation, are receiving? How does that work? I mean, how does that mix work to ensure that they will be able to, and meeting the standards in terms of what is needed to graduation?
So I'm going to take a stab at this, and we have our 912 person there, but I'll take a stab at it, and Renee, you let me know if I'm wrong. So For the online students that are in high school, that is done through Edgenuity. Okay, so the Edgenuity program, that's Michigan Merit Curriculum. So they take a class in Edgenuity, they pass the class in Edgenuity, and then they receive the credit. The Edgenuity is aligned, to standards. So that's how you get credit in high school. They use primarily Edgenuity. Am I right? Okay.
Okay, all right. The reason why I asked is because so many individuals in the resident and outside of the resident, as a matter of fact, is asking a question because they were focusing and they are focusing on our online courses, particularly when they found out we were doing it. Okay, and the many courses that we have. And so I'm thinking in terms of marketing and enrollment, such as we have the kindergarten roundup or whatever. So I'm quite sure you'll be working with Brad in terms of,
Absolutely.
what that might look like and, determining when it's the best for us to start pushing that and knowing how many students we will have prior to, the school year. So
Yep,
thank you
I'll be
very
working with Brad on putting out that survey ASAP. I wanted to talk to you guys first.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to allow for Mr. DeAbry. That's how you pronounce your last name? I saw you, DeBray. Saw you, Carl, raising your hand. I presume you have a question?
I was just wondering, you said there's, you're looking for music and art?
No, I said we have a person certified in music who is looking to work with face-to-face students as well as virtual students.
Okay, so they have all the equipment and everything that they need if you were going to do that? The reason I'm asking is if you may be interested in a short-term pilot program that would possibly assist to grow that program.
We can definitely talk before you leave. We'll switch information.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, all right. Oh, we got another person before Mr. Parker, Ms. Miller? Okay, thank you very much. Go ahead. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. All matters listed on the consent agenda are considered routine in nature by the Board of Education and will be acted upon by one motion. There will be no separate discussions on these items. If any member of the board or any citizen requests discussion of an item, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will become the first item of business under the report of the superintendent portion of the agenda. Approval. To approve the minutes of the Board of Education, each marked as 4/8/22. Number one, March 21, 2022 regular meeting, April 4th, 2022 special meeting, April 4th, 2022 closed session. B, approval. To approve the bills of payment as submitted by accountant Sarah Khan in the amount of $1,459,567.22. C, approval. To approve the personnel actions as submitted by the Human Resources Director, Don Scott, employment of Natalie Basadas, school nurse, effective 4/18/22, and Aisha Dixon, paraprofessional at Hell Creek, with a start date to be determined. Board, so move that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda as presented or amended.
Support. As presented.
Second? Moved by Secretary Ebbett, support by Powell. Madam Secretary, roll call vote.
Terrell? Wester? German? Evans, yes. Piles? Kennard?
Yes.
Unanimous.
The next item on the agenda is report of the interim superintendent, Dr. Donald Witherspoon.
Thank you, Madam President, and members of the board, good evening. It is, I guess, with pleasure that we have to recognize Nelson Henry for his, let's say, what should I say, Nelson? 'Cause I really want to tease Nelson a little bit, but anyway, let's congratulate Nelson on this new job, which I'm sure he has a couple minutes to share with us about his new adventure and what he's going to be doing in a new school district. No, now.
You can do that now.
When you make a report, you're still on our nickel.
Good evening, members of the Board of Education, Interim Superintendent Dr. Donald Witherspoon, and community. I've had an opportunity to reach out to all of you all, I believe, personally, and to my principal colleagues who I've had a chance to work with for the last 3 years. It has been my honor to come here to Romulus Middle School in August of 2019 and had the privilege of leading during a global pandemic that no one has ever experienced during their lifetime. But we were able to do some good things at the middle school and hopefully usher back in a more positive public perception of the middle school and some other things. But my new role is that of serving as a superintendent of Jefferson Schools in Monroe County, and that starts on May 1st. And I noticed that that part was skipped in the consent agenda. I said that has to be the first action item under the report of the interim superintendent. But thank you so much for having me as a part of the RCS family. And I'll always be a part of the RCS family because it was a part of my work life.
Congratulations and thank you. Madam President, we are now at the point where the board is being asked to consider action item B, the supplemental STEM learning system purchase and its sub-license agreement, commonly known as MetaLabs.
Excuse me, we have to do the motion first before we go into that. Okay, so move the recommend motion. Any trustee?
I move that the Board of Education accept the resignation of Nelson Henry, Interim Executive Director of Instruction, with a resignation date of Friday, April the 29th, 2022.
Second by?
Or Evans?
Madam Secretary, roll call vote.
German? Piles? Wester?
Yes.
Terrell? Evans, yes. Kennard?
Yes.
Thank you. Unanimous.
Next on the agenda now is the action item, the supplemental STEM learning system purchase and sub-licenses. Dr. Witherspoon.
Madam President, there have been several visits to various locations, a lot of study of this supplemental program, and a lot of dialogue with the program presenter, managers in other school districts as well as Chicago. Information has been presented to this board, and this is an opportunity that really is of significant importance in the direction of this district. There's a lot of material before you and a lot of discussion. I'm sure we have people who are, some of our resources are in the audience, and I would ask the board to consider this favorably.
Thank you. Is there anyone that is here that would like to say anything, Brad or anyone, Renee, pertaining to supplemental STEM? I'll allow for that at this moment.
Thank you so much for the
Thank-
opportunity,
yeah,
President
thank you.
Kennard. Just to mention that, I think this is a wonderful option that we're giving to our students here, and not just in the high school, but in K through 12. So if I can just reiterate that this is not a replacement, but this is just an addition to, I believe it was Mr. Henry who taught me that it's not either or, it's and. So we're trying to offer more opportunities for our students. I remember when I was in high school, the vocational wing was huge, and I had lots of friends that went through the vocational wing. This isn't a vocational wing, but it's in that line. We just want to offer our students some more options here. Very exciting to see what could happen K through 12, and we're very excited to see what this can do for our overall numbers. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to do my best to answer. Just really want to emphasize what this could offer in terms of electives. We're hoping that we can give some of our outstanding teachers their prep periods back, and we can just offer more opportunities for our students. We see everywhere that Meta is offered that the enrollment has just shot up. So we're really, really excited about this opportunity. I think Dr. Prince has an outstanding program here that we've seen work in other districts. We're really excited. So,
Thank you.
Let's find out. Superintendent Weatherspoon, President Kennard, members of the board, thank you for giving me a moment.
Thank you.
As we've seen my dance card filling up this evening on items that I'll be helping the district try to promote to the community, I think this would be a tremendous asset to the district. I had the opportunity to go and see it at Harper Woods, and a lot of folks have stepped up to this microphone over the last month and a half and talked about what they saw there in terms of students engaged and teachers engaged. What I really noticed there, parents engaged. I saw families engaged. I saw a whole building full of families who were excited about what their kids were doing at school. I think that matters. I think that's part of the long-range vision for this district, is to recreate it as a hub for the community. Heart and soul of the community is the school. And so for all the reasons, I think this would be a fantastic idea, but the decision is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. So move the motion. No, I would ask the both of you to, just in case if the board has any questions during the discussion, that you are readily available for them to respond. So at this moment, for me, the board members, so move the recommendation for the supplemental STEM licensing system purchase and sub-license agreement. Any board member?
Madam President, I move that the Board of Education approves the Workforce High purchase and sub-license agreement with a commencement date of April 1st, 2022, and a payment schedule as described in Exhibit A. The initial term of this agreement shall be 3 years, April 1st, 2022 through March 31st, 2025. A first renewal term shall commence on April 1st, 2025 and end on March 31st, 2026. A second renewal term shall commence on April 1st, 2026 and end on March 31st, 2027. And we've all been presented with the rationale and the exhibits.
Is there a second?
Support.
Is there any board discussion? Yes, trustee Terrell.
Okay, I saw a lot of nifty little gadgets and things, and Dr. Witherspoon made sure to bring back some really nice items that students created. I believe it was from Harper Woods. But I had a couple questions. One is, you mentioned that the numbers shot up. From what district were you able to identify that the numbers shot up as a result of the Meta Labs?
thank you. That was speaking with the superintendent of Harper Woods.
Okay, and then the other question I had, you said that you would hope that this program would give our teachers back their prep time. How does that work? I'm just asking, how does that work that they would, is it because of the extracurricular classwork that they would be able to get their prep time back?
Well, we're hoping to see that the students would be scheduled in more elective classes. So that, the meta labs would be under that electives. So we're just hoping that we offer more electives, that the students can take advantage more of that, and that would give some of the teachers, because there are quite a few teachers at the high school who have been working on their prep period the entire school year.
Okay, and then my last question.
Sure.
And that deals with surveys. One of the things that I believe is that surveys allow people to have a voice and understanding what they want, what they don't want. Have we done any surveys with our staff and with parents within the districts?
We have not yet, but let me emphasize the yet.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You might want to stay there. Anyone else?
I do.
Yes, Vice President.
Just to piggyback off of Trustee Terrell, as it goes with, I know our teachers are losing their prep time at the high school because of not having enough coverage. So when we're talking about that, as we talk about staffing for these classrooms, these electives, how is the staffing going? How is the grading going? If this is an elective, how will the students be graded? How will it go, be transposed onto their transcript? Just like taking a gym class or they're taking music, how will those things be done?
Sure. Can I address the curriculum question first? There is a curriculum that goes with this, so that will allow us to grade. And of course, we'll be working with the teachers. But as far as the teachers for the Meta Labs, and again, forgive me for using the comparison of the vocational wing, but I remember when I was in high school, the vocational wing had teachers that were certified in that field. So it wasn't an English teacher teaching auto mechanics, it was an auto mechanics teacher. So that's what we're hoping to find, experts in the field that then will become paraprofessionals and lead those classes, not taking away from our teachers at all. Our teachers are highly qualified, certified, but we want people in this field to be able to teach that class, right? So if we had, and we don't have auto mechanics, forgive me, that's the example I keep using. We would want.
That's a good example. If we have, auto mechanics and we're gonna have a certified, mechanic come in
Sure.
and is gonna run that class.
Sure.
Yes, he or she will be running that class.
Sure.
But in the event, because I'm not sure which labs we're talking about doing, in the event that we don't have certified people in those fields teaching the classes, how will those get taught? Will it just be by a para? Because I know with our classrooms, we don't have a teacher, we can get a long-term sub because
Sure.
they have certain qualifications as a long-term sub to be in a classroom.
Sure.
So how would we fill those classes if we don't have the certified individuals for those?
I think that's got to be the step number one that we have to take, Vice President Wester, is to make sure that we fill those positions with the right individuals. And I know that Dr. Prince wants to be involved in that as well, to make sure that the people that we put in each of those labs are the right person that's going to work with those students and with that subject matter. Now, from what you're saying, my mind is already going in 100 different directions, that I think what we need to have is an extra body, right? So in case one of those teachers is out for a day, that there's somebody that we could put in there, because Lord knows I don't know how to sew, so I couldn't step into that role. But I think you've given me a good thought there, is that we need to have now some secondary, some long-term subs, as we were hearing earlier. So, but I think the very first thing that we have to do, if this gets approved, is really look into finding the right staff to fill each of these labs. And then, as you suggested, maybe a couple extras on the side that can receive that training as well. So if someone, in the event that we know someone's going to be out, that they could step in there pretty seamlessly and pick up on the curriculum that's already in place and keep that going pretty seamlessly.
And piggyback again on surveys. So if it's approved, we're talking about doing surveys. In terms, the surveys will cover what subjects will be taught, or what classes or labs we're going to have, or would that be something that's, I would think that would have been something that we did prior to see if there was a feel for it. So you can answer that one before I go to the next one.
Well, I would say that there's a set number of labs that are available through the META program. And looking through the buildings, we're trying to offer each one at different places. So, it's not an unlimited curriculum here that we have to choose from. There are quite a few labs. I was very impressed with how many different, but we're trying to put those, I think we have most of them covered between the elementary, the middle, and the high school. I hope that answered your question. No? I'll try again.
Well, you say there's a lot for us to choose from in terms of the labs.
Mhm.
I guess that's my question. You're saying we want to hit every one that that they have to make sure that we have each one in each building. So if there's 20, and if there's 20 different labs that we can have, so you're saying we want to have 20 different, we want to have all 20 in our building.
Well, it may not be all.
Or are we going to go for a core? That's what I'm trying, how are we picking out what labs we're going to have?
Well, a lot of that had to do with the buildings, right, and the rooms and the spaces that were available. But another part of that was what's been the most popular. So broadcasting, right, or things with that nature has been very, very popular. Multimedia. So we did have a list, and I can share that with you, Vice President Wester. At some point, we have the list of all of the different labs that are available and what their recommendations were to put in at each school based on the spaces. But that's not locked down at all. This was all just a recommendation. So what we can do is absolutely create some sort of survey, get this out to the community. Here are the labs that are available, and we can talk about here's what was recommended. But if there's something else that's wanted, we can absolutely have that discussion. I don't think the number is as high as 20. I want to say maybe more like a dozen different labs that are available. And I want to say we tried to fit most of those labs in one building or another.
Okay, but it still goes back to the survey.
Sure.
To be able to approve something and really not knowing which labs we're bringing in. You kind of understand?
I do.
I went to Harper Woods. I saw the things that were going on. I went, we had the drone class. They had their, fashion design. But if we're going to hone in on a couple key ones, those, I think that would be part of the discussion to say, these are the ones we're going after because they're going to bring in more. We got broadcasting. Those are the things that people are getting into. The drones. Everyone is using drones nowadays for some of everything. We saw that on the news with them covering things over, overseas. So we know that's a big point.
Sure.
But just really kind of honing in on these are the top 6 we're going to go for, and so that our whole community is involved in what's going on.
I can tell you that, I don't have it on me because I don't have my laptop, but we do have a rough blueprint of here's what we had hoped to put at each elementary school, here's what we had hoped to put at the middle schools, and here's what we had hoped to put at the high school. We've gone so far as to almost assign rooms, and I know this because I went around and took pictures of all of these classrooms. So there is a rough blueprint, if I may, that we could absolutely share with you. I hate that I don't have it on me right now to just click a button, but I could absolutely share that with you tomorrow, and that would just show you roughly what we've planned on doing and specific labs and specific classrooms that we've hoped to put this in.
Okay. I forgot the last question. I'll move on to someone else. It'll probably come back.
Let me add to that. First, how I understood this is that a meta program is actually a system, okay? And so it's a system to teaching. It's a supplemental to what we already had as a district, okay? So in knowing that you have your traditional educational setting, and then meta is an approach where students who need supplemental or additional way, because we all read different, approach things different, where it would help a student to be able to align that, in terms of meeting their needs. And so first we need to get that clear. We need to get clear the meta is a systematic approach to learning, an alternative learning, okay? And so from what I understood, in terms of the courses, there's a whole array list, just like you do with CTE, just like you did with vocational back in my day.
Mine too.
And so from that list, we have to determine what's best for our students. Okay, and so in doing so, at some point, first of all, we can't identify the courses because we don't have the program. Once we get the program, if we decide to do that, we have those who are going to be the administrators or those who are in administration to take a look at and say, from the survey, from this list, this is what the survey indicates that we would like to have part of our META program. META is, from what I understand, is geared around STEM, okay, because of the approach in learning. Science, technology, English, and math. It's just like when you're learning, when you're first starting out, you don't mix chemicals up without going through the steps and learning, you know, what those formulas and those things, and I'm quite sure formulas and what makes to do whatever. Same thing with reading. When we're reading, you're learning to read at a young age. You don't know the words. It's a step till you get to the bigger thing. So the bigger picture is the products.
Sure.
That's what I interpret when I was looking at this. And so the question here for me, and I'm not trying to change any minds, but some clarity here is that, you know, the META is not a program, it's a program that is ran under an umbrella of administration where our students will have the opportunity starting at the beginning, matriculating through our system.
Sure.
So by the time they get to, or at the end of the curriculum, regardless of how the curriculum is designed, they will have a finished project, a finished learning, additional educational things to help them to be able to accomplish that learning goal and to also compete. Okay, and what I mean by compete is as when they're testing, you know, I'm looking at things different, and how do I calculate, how do I look at this word, how do I pronunciate, how do I add, how do I, the science and stuff. And so when we're looking at it from what I understood and from what I saw, I think we also should take in consideration, okay, it's not replacing anything.
Absolutely not.
It is a supplement. We have to determine if the board decides to take this on, what courses best fit the needs of our district, making sure that it's aligned with our curriculum, make sure that it is providing us what we need in STEM, that we're getting those types of things. And I've always spoke on that. The very first day that I walked on the board was to make sure that every student who comes through our doors receive a quality education regardless of what their needs are. This will be a way, I would think, from what I've observed, in terms that would be an aid to them. Trustee Secretary Evans?
To address the concerns of enrollment that Trustee Terrell and Vice President Wester brought up. I attended both River Rouge and the Harper Woods visits. Both schools made it very clear that their enrollment has shot up and they have waiting lists to enroll. They have to put a cap on their enrollment because of their ability to house the students, but they do have waiting lists since they have implemented the META labs. Also, one of the ways that this program is successful is by feeding other labs. So you have a classroom that is producing something in a jar, and it would be the lotion, but how do you know what's in it? So what you do is you contact the printing class at the middle school, who then provides the labels for that product. Then it goes on a shelf. And again, this is the end product, but it just shows you that you are feeding the other labs, and the other labs are growing because of your need. And again, they have to know, the person producing this product has to know the ingredients. So through the science part of it, they have to list the percentages, they have to list the ingredients that go on the labels for the final product. So it is a full circle of feeding each other and developing the whole program, as opposed to, oh, this person is going to sew something. That's fine, but the labels have to go on that. You have to know how many stitches per inch when you're sewing. You have to know what your filler is. You have to know your dyes, whether you can wash it. And those instructions go along with the finished product. So I just want to make sure that we understand that it's not an individual class. It is a family of final production and growing the district and working together from the third grade all the way up to a 12th grader that is providing, supporting a label, a commercial to this. So the 12th graders will be teaching third graders how to speak, how to do a commercial. The middle school will be teaching them what we need on this label so that there are no issues with the ingredients of something. So I just want to make sure that it's understood that it is a group, it is a full circle. It is feeding each other, teaching each other from the 12th grade down to the third grade. They will be working together. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Trustee Powles?
Regarding the labs, what we learned on our trip to Chicago is there are many labs, but they are geared for grade level specific. So for example, the labs that are available for elementary students include a jewelry and fashion design, a personal care lab, a cultivation lab, growing food, and then an AV media lab, which teaches audio, video, and music production. And then when you get to the secondary level, middle school, the labs that are most geared for that age group is gaming, creating games, graphic design, fashion and sewing, which is a more advanced level than what's offered at the elementary school, and then also some industrial labs. And then when you get to the high school level, it is all of those labs, but at a more advanced level. So you have your gaming, your personal care, and fashion design. You have industrial / construction, where you're networking with unions or trade groups in the area. Meta Lab, increased enrollment is a bonus, a byproduct of this. Meta Labs aren't to increase enrollment, it is to more effectively reach the students we currently have. And then with learning, reading, writing, math, science, and then also providing access to opportunities once they leave us. And of course, because that is being offered, a natural response to that is increased enrollment. Students want to come and be a part of that. But all of that it has been shown that students are engaged. When students are engaged, their scores go up, behavior problems go down. This is not just specific to Meta, we know this. But when we visit these classrooms and we see all of these students engaged and excited in learning and proud of what they're learning and eager to share it, that is why this is good for RCS students and the opportunities that they will have access to because of what they learned in Meta is why this is good for our students specifically.
Thank you. Is there any other board member who?
I remembered mine. The
Vice
last thing
President.
I had was, Mr. Real was talking about enrollment. How and where is it stated about the increased enrollment? And you said that the Harperwood superintendent said that the Meta had helped to increase his enrollment. I remember that was one of my questions to him in terms of how did it, how much, and he said it was not really the Meta because they had just started Meta in September. His came from when he first got there with the revamping of their CTE program. So I just want, it was not really Meta that increased his numbers because they just got it started. I like what Ms. Piles did say, not about increasing numbers, but enhancing what we have and giving students other opportunities to succeed. But I have not been able to find anything about how it's increased the enrollment at a district. And it may, but you have those that leave to whereas to it may equal out because you got 50 new students, but we also lost some through attrition and things of that nature. So I've not been able to find anything about how it actually increases the enrollment.
Okay, thank you. Before I get to you, I want to have Renee. One of the questions that a lot of that's been asked, and maybe you can answer that, and we need to clear up a couple of myths. And one of them that the cost of the program is out there, $2 million. You know, then I heard another number, whatever. So can you give us a little bit of feedback on that?
Well, I definitely haven't heard the 2 million. I know that Mr. Garland and myself sat down and really crunched some numbers with this. We looked at the contract and what it would cost to add some furniture to that. So it was, Mr. Garland, correct me if I'm wrong, we weren't near the $2 million mark though, were we?
Yeah, so we need to clear up the cost, and we need to and explain to us the program and the services that we'll be receiving over the three-year.
Well, the cost was outlined in for the program itself, that's outlined in the contract. What Mr. Garland and I worked on doing was looking at what it would cost for the build-out. Am I using the correct term there, Mr. Garland? So, and we did, I believe we presented that to Dr. Witherspoon and to Shelby. Am I correct about that? So we do have, it was handwritten on my end, President Terrell. So, I'm sorry, President Kennard. So, but we do have those rough numbers out there. And again, as I mentioned, in the contract, Dr. Prince has outlined what the cost will be for year 1, year 2, and year 3.
Yeah, we do have that information, but I just wanted to bring that up, you know. Yeah, so Bill, go ahead.
So the actual cost for Meta, for the curriculum, for the equipment, and those type of things, I believe was somewhere around $1 million for that total project. But after going and visiting the different classrooms and having some understanding of what type of programs we have, we built out so that these things would really shine. Because it's up to us to decide about the furniture, about the lay of the land and how we're going to set these things up. And there were obviously some things that would need to be considered concerning, you might have an area where you have multiple computers. And we faced this before, like in the middle school. We just let a team put a bunch of computers in a room that didn't have the ability to cool that room. So then we had to add a new univent. So we looked at all those things. We looked very closely at what we would need to make this a really fine project. And then we broke it down by cost, and we put it in there. Now, obviously, those are high-level numbers, but we made sure that we accelerated them, that they were above what we know things would go for. So we don't expect those build-outs to actually reach that 500,000 mark, because we were just under that, like 470,000 for all the stuff we would need. But we did. We had accelerated those costs just in case. And I'll just say this. I really believe we have to do something for our students. We have to give them another avenue. And whether they're going to go to college or not, they have to have something to grab onto, to latch onto. And the single thing that impressed me the most wasn't the nice little bar of soap that we got that smelled so awesome. It wasn't the little thing of lotion or the candle or the pillow that I gave to my granddaughter that they had hand sewed. What impressed me was in every single instance, and Miss Wester was there too, we were impressed when we walked in and all the students were engaged. And it wasn't like, you can't get a bunch of teenagers to just behave. And we saw middle school and high school, but they were all engaged and working on it. And I had said this before, there was one young lady who, she could not take the class any longer. So she came on her lunch and she came after school to be a part of it. So I just want to encourage our team here to really look at what we can do to offer more to our students, whether they're going to go to college or not. And I think that if we build this out right, we hire the right people, we get the right professionals in place, obviously this can work. That's what made all our old labs great, our old CTE programs incredible, was the individuals. Like, there was a group called Barnes Burners, And you could go anywhere in the country and somebody knew about them because they were excellent welders. And the automotive, when Mr. Hoffman was here, the elderly people in this community, they still come to me and say, when are we going to open that back up? We used to get our oil changed, our tires fixed. They would fix our cars. We have to do something, and I think now is the time for us to strike. And I just want to see us give something else to our kids.
Thank you for responding to that. Trustee German.
So I definitely agree with you, Mr. Garland. Mr. Garland, in regards to exposing our scholars to something beyond the textbooks. And so I know what the Meta Labs do at our schools and how they impact our scholars in more ways than one. It goes beyond the textbooks. So just imagine students having that opportunity and access so that they can leave high school as an entrepreneur. And so I think that we miss that part because they're learning at starting at third grade, being exposed to what entrepreneurship is all about, and then leaving high school with a business plan. So I think that it's important for us to really consider it because every student is not going to go to college, but we're setting them up for success no matter what pathway they may go.
Thank you. If there's no other discussion, board, we're ready to do a vote. Madam Secretary, roll call vote.
Wester? Terrell? German? Evans, yes. Piles? Yes. Kennard?
Yes.
Passes 4-2.
Motion has been passed. The next item on the agenda is report of the interim executive director of instruction, Mr. Henry.
Good evening, Board of Education. Again, I placed in the packet a request for the class of 2022, their senior trip. Please forgive me for not having all of the information that you needed up front, but that information did get to you today as it relates to the senior trip that they're requesting to Kalahari. The information is there with the field trip request form, the quote for the bus, the price for admission. I'm going to bring Ms. Swint, who is the class sponsor for this trip, because there were some questions that you all had that I tried to get answered before the meeting tonight, but if you still have remaining questions, she can give more context to the trip, I believe from 2020, that wound up being postponed because of COVID and some other things. So I'll bring her at this time.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So you had some questions about the Kalahari trip. Do you have questions?
Is there any board members? Well, first of all, so move the motion, board members, pertaining to the recommended motion.
I move that the Board of Education approves the RHS 2022 senior class request to go to Kalahari Resorts in Sandusky, Ohio on Thursday, May the 12th or Thursday, May the 19th. This is not an overnight stay, just an out-of-state day trip. The rationale, this trip will be part of the accumulating activities for the RHS class of 2022. That include, but is not limited to senior pinning, prom, and graduation.
Is there a support?
Support for discussion.
Right. Discussion, any board member have a question?
I apologize. I did read the proposal that was in our board packet, but I have not had time yet to review the specific field trip request that was included with our packet tonight. So I do have questions. There is, in the proposal, a number of students who were going.
Yes.
Have those students already committed, or is that what you're thinking you'll get?
That's what we're thinking we're gonna get, and it was based on the board's approval. So this is why we chose 52 seniors, because when I did it in 2020, we didn't have a lot of students who paid. But then that's when it was cut. You know, when we left in March. So when we were trying to get the money together in February, it wasn't a lot of students who paid. So that is why we only want to take one bus. But if we get more, you know, interest, then we would be able to have 2 buses.
So the 50, I'm sorry, what was it, 52? That's roughly 1/3 of the senior class. Is this open to the entire senior class?
Yes, ma'am, including the virtual students.
Okay, and what funding source is being used for this?
The students will pay for it.
Is there anyone else? Secretary Evan.
So is this considered a field trip or is this considered a senior trip?
It's considered a senior trip for the class of 2022.
Okay, so that is why, so it has nothing to do with curriculum then? So it is not a field trip?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so that's part of the reason why I'm asking these questions,
Yes.
because this is considered, this was written up as a field trip, not a senior trip, which definitely changes my questions, okay? So my question, because of if it were a field trip, in order for us to continue to maintain our USDA free and reduced lunch commitment, we would have to allow for the food. So that goes away because now it's a senior trip,
Yes.
okay? And the ratio of student to staff, you are continuing with, at their age, I believe it's a 10-to-1 ratio, so we have that, correct?
Well, the reason why we have, yes, yes.
So, Ms. Evans, I completed this as a field trip just so we would have documentation
And that's fine.
for district, but every component did not apply because it's not an actual school district field trip, but the ratio is followed and all of those sorts of things.
Okay, so that is one thing. So if it's 50, let's see, how many students? Did you 52? So we would need one more chaperone, right? Because we would need 6 then.
And ma'am, the reason, can I?
Yeah.
Okay, the reason why we chose to have 4 chaperones, because we understood that we need 10, a chaperone per 10 students. But the reason why we were going to forego that is because Kalahari provides a lot of security, and we have a lot of lifeguards on staff. So there are going to be a lot of eyes watching our students, including the chaperone. And this is why we wanted to just go with the 4, so it wouldn't be a hardship on the district.
Well, if the students are paying for it, it won't be a hardship on the district, but we do have to stick to our chaperone requirement. Okay? And I'm not giving you a hard time, I just want to make sure that we stay within the standards that are set forth for future trips, for any class, for any grade, for anything, okay? So that's one thing. And so you are going to put this out to all seniors. Now, I see that I did the calculations, because I'm a numbers person.
Yes.
So it came out to $69.46, and you have on here that you're charging $72. We should charge exactly what it is costing.
The reason why we did that, ma'am, is because we're going to have the students pay for the 4 staff members, so that was incorporated, no? Okay,
Students do not pay,
all right.
okay? We cannot justify that,
All
okay?
right.
And if you want to be a chaperone, I filled out 100 of these, and every time that they were filled out and approved, the chaperones paid for
And
themselves.
that's what we'll do there, because we want to make sure this goes, if that's whatever you say.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any additional questions?
So their pricing, I'm sorry. So the price that they're paying includes their transportation, entrance into the water park, as well as pizza and a drink.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The calculation for transportation came out to $29.46 per student. The pizza and soda is $10, and the admission is $30. So it came out to $69.46 per student at the 56-person rate.
And that's what we'll do.
No, I understood the calculation. I was just making sure that they were getting.
But I want the public to know
Oh,
where I
okay,
came up
thank
with that
you.
number.
Okay, so that's not in the recommended motion. We would need to add adjustment to the motion that the trip for the cost is $69.46 at 56. Okay, can you write that so you can make?
Excuse me,
Yes.
President Kennard, the
Yes.
motion did not have an admission, it did not have a dollar amount. That was just in the proposal that was given to you, so the motion would not be void the way it was presented because there was no price there. But that can be handled internally by the senior class sponsor.
So that was my question, should we be,
We're voting.
Well,
should,
Because if there's 10 more kids on the bus, the price changes. But it should be divided equally by student and chaperone to make sure that everybody on that trip is paying the exact amount, whether you are a chaperone or a student.
And that's what we'll
I
do.
have a question. Is there a minimum, I'm sorry, is there a minimum that the transportation company is requiring? If you don't have 52 students who are able to pay and go, what is the minimum that must be on the bus?
56 people must be on the bus.
Okay.
So you have to make up for that difference somewhere if you don't have 56 people.
And this is what we were suggesting, that if you were going to approve this, if some parents could serve as chaperones, and, you know, as long as they could pass the background check.
I just have a quick question. This is a wonderful opportunity for our scholars. Is there any way that you're going to have any supplemental fees or funds for the students that cannot pay for this trip, like a fundraiser or anything like that?
Well, the reason why I just took over as the supervisor, and Mr. Hayden is our class advisor, because our advisor quit in December. So we had to try to get this all together in January. And we were working on this proposal before we had submitted this. So this is why we were trying to work out the kinks, to make sure our students had a senior prom and senior activities.
yeah, and
Dr.
I just want to
Weatherspoon,
add to this is a great opportunity. I think that, you know, with what all we have encountered, the students and everybody is probably ready to do some things, and the students will be much enjoyable, you know, for an event like this. So I'm going to commend those who have worked on this and tried to get it done in such a short time. We just want to make sure that they're safe. We want to make sure that they also enjoy themselves while they're out there doing it.
Okay, great, thank you.
Dr. Weatherspoon, I have a question. Even though this is not a field trip, and the students are going to pay $10 to get a jumbo slice of pizza and a pop, that may be cost prohibitive for some students. And since this will be taking place on a school day, could we still send breakfast and lunch on the bus in a cooler for students to be able to eat?
I don't think we can use general fund to do that, but we'll figure out a way to fund it.
I meant like our regular food service
I
program.
don't think we can approve it
Okay.
because it doesn't have an educational component.
Oh, okay.
But we will find a way to supplement some of the money for these kids so it is not cost prohibitive.
And my last question is, I know that on the proposal, but not in the motion, there was a request to pay the day's wages for chaperones. For opening this up to parents, I know typically, and Ms. Evans will be able to speak more to this from a building perspective, but typically the district doesn't cover wages for chaperone, that's a volunteer, and it's not in this motion, so I didn't know if we're doing that separately or what.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? All right.
I just wanted to address the parents. So you know that there's a list that the district keeps of approved chaperones and approved parents to be on property. As long as the parents are on that list, or they can get approved with their background check, there should not be any issues with them being chaperones.
Okay.
But they must be listed on the form.
Okay,
It
great.
sounds really fun. I hope they enjoy it.
And this is gonna replace when we had the all-night party. And this is, right.
Sounds like a fun time for everyone. I hope more students are able to attend.
Yes.
Okay, motion was moved, if there's no other questions, motion was moved by Wester, support by Powles. Madam Secretary, roll call vote with the amended motion.
Okay.
Madam Secretary, read the motion.
Move that the Board of Education approves the RHS 2022 senior class request to go to Kalahari Resorts in Sandusky, Ohio on Thursday, May 12th or Thursday, May 19th. This is not an overnight stay, just an out-of-state day trip. All students and chaperones are to pay equal amounts. The rationale, this trip will be part of the culminating activities for the RHS class of 2022 that include but is not limited to the senior pinning, prom, and graduation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, roll call vote.
Kennard,
Yes.
German, Terrell, Wester,
Yes.
Piles, Evans, yes. Unanimous vote.
Thank you.
We hope they have an enjoyable time. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Next on the agenda is report of the District Human Resources. Mr. Scott?
I believe you have provided in your packet the resume and the contract, or at least the contract, of the Human Resources Administrative Assistant that was hired based upon the job description that you approved about a month ago, I believe it was.
Yes.
And so we have an individual, Rachel Higgins, who I am putting forward to you for approval as the administrative assistant.
Thank you. So move the recommended motion. Any board member?
Move that the Board of Education approve the hiring of Rachel Higgins to serve as administrative assistant to Human Resources with a start date of April 13th, 2022, and a contract expiration date of June 30th, 2022.
Is there support?
Support.
It has been motioned by Powles and support by Evitt. Any discussion?
I finished reading.
There's no discussion. Madam Secretary, roll call vote.
Terrell? I'm sorry?
Yes.
German? Yes. Piles?
Yes.
Wester? Kennard?
Yes.
Evans, yes.
Motion
Unanimous.
passed unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is report of the Interim Director of Technology, Roxanne Kuskarski. Did I pronounce that right? Kurchowski. Okay.
All right, I'm not sure if you have any questions, but it's about the recycling. There's a container full of used and damaged equipment, and there's some in the back hiding.
Okay.
And we'd like to dispose of it.
Thank you. So move the recommended motion by any board member.
Move that the Board of Education declare the presented 3/30/22 list of technology equipment as surplus items and approve the recycling of these items. Rationale presented to the board for review is a list of technology surplus items. It is recommended to recycle these items. Roxanne Chikarsky has been in contact with a recycling company. If we do not have enough preferred items to warrant a free pickup, there could be a cost. They gave an estimate of $3,000.
Is there any support? Support by German, motion made by Evitt. Discussion, any board discussion? If not, Madam Secretary, roll call vote.
Piles? Yes. German? Yes. Terrell? Yes. Wester? Yes. Kennard?
Yes.
Evans, yes. Motion passed unanimously.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The next item, is there any report of any board subcommittees at this time? Yes. Dr. Witherspoon?
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to call your attention to 3 board members. Trustee Piles, Trustee Terrell, and Trustee Wester. They've been recognized for their completion of courses that have been offered by Michigan Association of School Boards. I have 2 certificates here for Trustee Terrell and Trustee Wester. Trustee Piles will be recognized at a later time at a larger meeting of MASB. So at this time, Madam President, please, and members of the public, please give our 2 trustees a hand.
Congratulations to all of you. Well deserving. If there are no subcommittee reports, report from the board president, and just a reminder that the Spring Institute MASB is coming up. For those members who wish to attend, it's going to be in Howe, Michigan. Please get that information and registration through the board secretary, Paula, and we look to see you there. Also, we received correspondence from the Greater Romulus Chamber of Commerce, where they will be recognizing a resident of our community by the name of Mrs. Bales. And so they're asking us to attend. Any board members who wish to attend that, we must get information back to them. The event will be held Friday, May the 20th, 2022, so at your earliest, please let us know so that we can let them know who will be in attendance. It would be nice if as many board members who can attend would be there at that event. So with that, any communications from any board members?
I would like to say thank you to Mr. Richardson for the uplifting presentation. I look forward to visiting the building. That'll be fun. Thank you. Mr. Parker, excited to hear that we have waiting lists to get into that virtual education program. I look forward to it growing and growing. Thank you for that presentation. Congratulations to Mr. Henry. I wish you success in your future endeavors. And also congratulations to Trustee Terrell, Vice President Wester, and Trustee Piles on their MASB recognition. Thank you, everyone, for coming out today.
Is there anyone else?
Thank you to Mr. Parker and Mr. Richardson for those updates. And thank you, Dr. Weatherspoon and President Kennard, for having these program and school updates on our agenda for us to be able to hear and support what's going on in our buildings. That is appreciated. My communication is just, I had the email that I'd sent to the board just regarding the 3rd grade reading law and where our students stand with that, and what supports we can do in looking forward next year's 3rd graders, what we're able to do now for those who may be at risk of retention, and also as we look forward to summer school, just an update on whatever summer school programs we're going to implement, what those look like, and also what kind of recruiting we will be doing specifically for kindergarten and any kindergarten roundup, but also mailers or marketing commercials, whatever we're going to do for incoming kindergartners, but new students in general.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? If not, so move the adjournment. Any board member? Motion was made by Vice President Wester. Vice President, right, Vice President Wester. Is any support? All in favor? Meeting is adjourned at 8:12.